Aaliyah first had seizures around about 8 hours old, I believe it was. Um, we were both out of the. She was in the nursery, and we were both out of the room. Ron was recovering in the room, and I was in there with her. And they came in and said that she had a seizure, and they'd given her some sedation drugs. So I rushed in there, and at that point, she had trouble breathing, and they decided to send her off in the nets to the next available NICU, which happened to be at the Monash in Clayton.
So when we first received Aaliyah's diagnosis of SCN2A, our neurologist called us on Friday night. So obviously we were Googling like mad, and initially we were, I guess, excited that we had a name for it, and it sort of maybe gave us some hope that maybe, oh, that's good, like we know what's going on, we'll be able to hopefully fix her, help her. Well, obviously we learned really quickly that we were dealing with something quite severe, and as time went on, it wasn't going to go away, and she needed me with her 24/7.
Yeah, the treatments we had were wild and varied from the very beginning. So without having a diagnosis or even a case history of known cases to work off, it was basically just all the generic epilepsy drugs. We had at one stage 5 or 6 running at one time, and of course, because Aaliyah was so young and was effectively growing at the same rate and a normal baby does, the dosages would have to change so regularly, and it was impossible to know which was working, which wasn't. Our main goal from the very beginning was just to try and reduce the drugs to nothing. That was the end game.
Unfortunately, in our case, nothing really worked. It was just we'd get a you'd get a couple of weeks without a seizure, and you'd have that little glimmer of hope, and then bang, it would happen again, and you think we're back to the start again. But it was scary because I knew at any time a seizure could just pop, and quite often if she got into a cluster, it was very hard to stop those. We'd have emergency drugs, but it was scary. So it would quite often end up in an ICU visit, and we knew once we got to ICU that we would be in hospital for at least a week.
So obviously the impact on Job was forefront of our minds the entire time, and he was only he must have been 2.5 when she was born. So yeah, while we were worried about it, he learned pretty quickly that that was the way of life with a sibling that needed extra care from his parents. So we had a lot of he spent a lot of time with his grandparents and his aunties and uncles and things like that. And for him, in the overall scheme of things, I think it was almost beneficial in that way. He got set of a relationship with a lot of those family members and relatives that he wouldn't otherwise have done.
So Aaliyah's passing was, although she was very sick, it was quite unexpected, and it did take us all by surprise. It was a bit of a shock. It was a bit of a sense of relief that she was not in pain anymore. She suffered from really severe reflux, which just was awful to watch. I also wanted to make her existence, what we'd gone through, into a positive. We knew that we needed to do something because she couldn't die in vain. There needed to be a purpose for her suffering.
So we set up the Aaliyah Amin Foundation, or the fund, a few days after she passed away, and it was basically because we had so many family, friends, and colleagues and everything that were like, how can we help with this? Like, this is a lot of them were the sort of the first time they knew how bad this disease must have been.
And we have a team at the Melbourne Marathon every year, which we've had for 7 years.
Each year we've tried to raise more and more, and we've raised over $100,000 to date.
My hope is that there's more help out there for them, for the families. There's more support. There's more financial help for them. Like, there's this really, really awful stories of families really struggling, and I hate seeing that. So for me, and I guess is why we are sort of trying to do our little bit with SCN2A and having our foundation, just to try and just tap away at it and, try to make a difference, even if it is just to one child. you know, with SCN2A, if they can have a brighter future because of the work that we've done or because of Aaliyah's life, then for me, that's, you know, that's everything. We're really grateful for SCN2A Australia and the support that they've provided to us. Even though Aaliyah has passed away many years ago, she passed away in 2014, SCN2A Australia have always included us. I feel like Aaliyah is still impacting and has had an effect on the SCN2A Australia community.
In the silver lining for me is that you know, I've got 2 healthy, happy kids now, and you know, I see the you know, the miracle that is a growing, healthy, happy kid. And you know, I probably wouldn't have seen them that way if I didn't, you know, wouldn't have loved and lost Aaliyah along the way. So, you know, you know, in some ways you're lucky to be able to experience something like that, so you can see things that you wouldn't otherwise and enjoy them.